my school counsellor said to me one day, "You're looking down, is there anything you want to talk about?"
He was highly sexed, yes. And yes, we had sex every day. You know, everybody asks me that.
So I went into a room and I told her everything.
Why didn't I notice? Yeah, you like notice that he's getting up in the middle of the night and going for a pee, but you're half asleep, you know. You don't know if he's been gone 5 minutes or half an hour.
You know, she made me tell my mum everything. All Mum said was, "You're lying!"
You don't know he's gone into your 10-year-old daughter's room to get her to masturbate him.
She and my auntie drove me straight to social services. Mum said to them, "You take her, because I can't handle her."
Kids were broken. Like the house were broken.
She packed a few of my things in bin bags, chucked them on pavement and just drove off.
It were like holding a whole handful of broken things, right? You know, I had no glue.
I was sat outside social services, right, with my bin bags, crying, and all I could think were, he were right. When my stepdad said, "If you tell your mum, she'll leave you," he were right. Next day they put me in care.
I moved to Thorpe Edge. I was sharing a flat with 4 lads. It were a mad house, it were, you know. We were always partying and pilling, partying all the time, really. The house, it were full of stolen stuff. It were too hectic for me, so I moved in with my auntie, and I started going on about my real dad, you know, all the time. I didn't shut up about him. She must have got so sick of me that eventually she told me his real name and that he lived in Shipley.
Whenever I asked about my real dad, she just changed subject. And then she did tell me his name was Paul. He stabbed a guy 16 times. It were all over a game of pool. He ended up in prison, that's all I know.
So I looked in the phone book. Only 2 G Parkers in Shipley, so I call the first number and I say, "You don't know me, you'll think I'm weird, but I'm trying to find someone." Voice at the other end said, "Is that Marie?" Turned out to be Benny, my dad's best mate, and my daddy were on holiday at the time. Also turned out that my daddy were a drug dealer. And Benny, he said he'd drive me to the airport to meet my dad. And as soon as we get there, Benny sees me dad and he jumps over the barrier and he points at me. And I see my dad's lips form words, "Marie." And I was crying by this point. And he walked over to me. We stood in front of each other and he said, "Oh, my daughter, my baby. All them nights I'd cried at my mum's, I'd imagined my dad would be some knight in shining armour." And he was. Oh yeah, it was party time. It was party time every day at that house. And all that time we hadn't been seeing my mum, so my daddy said he'd drive us over, and it was a Saturday, so obviously she were at bingo. 6 o'clock she turns up pissed out of her head. And as soon as she sees my dad, she says, "I've had it first 18 years, now it's your turn." My dad just drove off. A couple of weeks later, Benny said to me that he thought my dad was seeing some woman or something. So next night I watched my dad go out. He was done up to 90 war, you know. One of his fancy waistcoats, he's got about 300, they're bloody disgusting. And 2 o'clock in the morning he turns up and he said, "Have I got a surprise for you?" And then my mum walks in. Benny saw my face, he took me into another room and he handed me something on a piece of foil which I sucked up with a tube. And I were in heaven. What he gave me was heaven on that piece of foil.
No drugs, nothing like that. I never took drugs.
Me and Benny, we moved out 2 weeks later. Well, even my own kids. You know, no, Grant's been on whiz. He's a teenager dabbling. I could see him on slippery slope. Benny, he started selling acid for one of his mates, but instead of selling it, we caned it all. And his mate, you know, he wasn't the type of bloke that you mess with, let alone laugh in his face, which is what we did, because we were off our head. He sent some boys around, and you know, Benny, he were quite proud, like, but he proper yelled as the pickaxe went in. He started crying, and like his knee, it split open in an upside down Y shape. It's got a metal plate there now. Well, my whole life fell apart. You know, Grant and I started fighting. All I seemed to do was drink tea, you know, smoke and then drink. Well, Alan went to prison. Yeah, just before Christmas. Grant, of course, Grant kicked off because he never got life, but Debbie and I were pleased that at least we've got him to prison. When I had my first kid, I didn't know I was pregnant for a month. Being on gear, you know, it messes up your cycle. Then I did a test and, yeah, I was pregnant.
I peed on tab and it changed colour. I were in total shock. I couldn't move for 5 minutes. I mean, it had to be Terry's.
At time, I were on solid Charlie, heroin and cannabis. I were also drinking a lot of brandy and, you know, taking them date rape tablets, you know, just to get my head down. When I found out I was pregnant, I stopped with brandy and sleepers. 4 AM, 6th of September. I brought my own water, straining to go for a piss. She must know, right? The mum must know. If it's going on in the family home, both parents must know. I were quite buzzing at the time, like. 5 AM, Benny said he'd drive me to the hospital, but I paused for a pipe at door on way out. We got to hospital. I went into the labour room, lay down, gave 3 pushes, and like a giant poo, out he came. 6:15 AM, easy. Could have been a surrogate if I weren't on gear. The baby, he had a small habit like, but nowhere near as bad as some. 9 that night, I discharged myself. Got home, took a bit of spliff, bit of gay, bit of Charlie. The baby, he ended up with my auntie. Otherwise, he would have been taken away. Now I'm 6 months gone again. Got 65 days to get clean. I'll still smoke a bit of spliff and that, but that's normal, isn't it? Ain't it?
I'm 8 months gone now. I'm having a boy. I've been seeing Terry for a month and he found out I was pregnant and said to me, "Is it true you're pregnant?" I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, it's not mine." So I said, "Fine." Sean is Terry's older brother. We've been seeing each other for 6 months now. He's going to stand by me. We're going to get an house together. I love him lots.
I'm having a boy. You know, social workers, they're helping me move away from Benny, out junkies and dealers. I'm going to call him Luke. If I'd heard someone else, I'd have assumed the mum must know.
Next year I'm going to college to study hairdressing. Go mobile when he starts nursery. I'll be qualified by then.
No.
You know, Sean's not very good with money. And I got my 200 quid maternity award last week. I sent him out to get some stuff for baby and you'll never guess what he came back with.
Spliff.
A Timberland shirt and jeans.
Oh, no.
I could have killed him, they're massive, they'll never fit. Still, at least he got all the cotton wools and creams, the shampoos. He got something right. I started thieving since I got pregnant as well. The only way I could get things needed for baby. And my mum's going to be around now, we patched it up.
I used to beat myself up with a big stick and say that everything that went wrong was my fault. Well, my self-esteem has grown.
I'm going to call him Paul, after my real dad.
This baby, you know, it's like the end of an era. I've been on holiday 10 years. Life would be like normal, more boring, but also a relief.
What I'd like more than out, really, is to show my dad his grandson.
I used to be in a rush, you know, jobs, babies, Mr. Right. I wanted everything and I wanted it now. I've learned to slow down.
I don't know where to start.
Yeah, come on, let's go for a ciggy. The lenders won't have to run out. Oh,
that one you can have.
Here, Tina, you got 2 of my bags.
It's not, I got 1.
Come on, hurry up. Come on.